Hello everybody, I'm Jim Durrett, Mayor of Montgomery County. I'm pleased to bring you another one of our series of really shining the spotlight where it needs to be shown on people in county government that just do wonderful, wonderful things. And today, I'm actually interviewing our Register of Elections. Did I get it right? Administrator of Elections.
Close enough.
And today is May the 5th. And so for those of you who may not know it, we had an election 2 days ago, a primary.
That's the black under the eyes is the election. Yeah.
So how are you?
We're good.
Yeah, good. So before we get started about your role, I want everybody to know a little bit about Elizabeth.
Okay, Elizabeth is born and raised Clarksvillian. There's not a lot of us left.
Right.
I married 2 girls that keep me going, drive me crazy all at the same time. Been with county 15 years this November, so been here a while.
But you didn't start out as administrator of elections either.
I did not.
Yeah.
I was the communications director for 10 years.
Awesome.
You didn't fire me when you came in, so that was good.
No, but you were communications director for what?
For all
during
the
my
county.
term?
Mhm.
Yeah, but during my first term?
Yes.
You left after.
I've been with the administrator of elections for 5 years.
Okay, so basically 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you did an awesome job too.
Thanks.
You taught me so much.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this new role,
Yes.
it's a lot different than really
It's
what.
very different. It's still a lot of communicating. It's a lot of people skills, but it's just a different set.
And so a lot of people, and I think we tried to get this out as much as we could, but especially coming into the May 3rd primary, there was like so much stuff that happened back before the primary, and I go all the way back to the census.
Yes.
And so the census and the redistricting, and I mean, people just think that, you click a couple of buttons or push a couple of buttons and all that happens, and it doesn't.
It does not. It's very time and labor intensive, and we researched every house pretty much individually to make sure we had everybody in the right district.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Wow. And everybody got a new voter registration card.
Well, I have 20,000 some odd that have been returned to my office, so not everybody. All the registered voters should have, but if they haven't updated their address with us, we have it in our office so that we can get them updated. So,
Oh my goodness.
yes.
How many registered voters in Montgomery County?
134,000.
134,000.
Mm-hmm.
Something you and I talk about, and I'm just kind of like diving into
That's
your
okay,
job
that's
now.
okay.
But something you and I talk about, and we've talked about a lot, is the lack of voter turnout.
Yes, it's very disheartening, just because a small election and a large election, no matter the size of the ballot, takes the exact same amount of work. So Tuesday we had an 8% turnout.
And I mean, you have to have the exact number of precincts open, vote machines there, people to work those vote machines. Yes. Everything is the same if 100% of the voters turn out or if 8%.
We had 38 precincts open. We had over 150 machines out, and our payroll went over 400 people that day for an 8% turnout.
Wow. And 38 precincts. In the last election we had, there was how many precincts?
There was 29. So we added 9 precincts due to the redistricting.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
It's a lot.
So Elizabeth, explain to the public a little bit, and I think it's awesome, probably not for you, but I think it's good for the people that we're 2 days past an election. A lot of people think y'all probably they ain't working for a while.
Yes, we have a lot of people that think we get to take the day off. No, we do not. Our office is currently controlled chaos, and we want to make sure everything balances and that everything happened that should have happened, and that's where we are right now. So we're trying to make sure all the numbers balance in every precinct, and that the number of people that came in to vote are the number of people that voted, and if not, why, and those sorts of things.
So it is that part of a certification process, or is that just checks and balances?
Both. There's not a specific thing that we're supposed to do, A, B, C, and D, but I'm a baker's daughter, so I like to know where every penny is. So if you look at my office right now, I have every tape for every precinct, and I'm looking at them, and I'm making sure that the numbers are correct. And if not, I wanna know why.
Yeah.
And I can usually find if somebody checked in at one precinct, but actually ended up voting in another because they moved, those sorts of things.
Right.
And we can figure that out, so.
There's a lot of technology today
There is.
that helps with that. And I would hope during this 2 days ago that I'm sure a lot of people still showed up at the wrong place.
They do.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's 20,000 cards that got returned, so that's at least 20,000 people that we know didn't get their possible new precinct information. And some of them got it and just put it in their wallet and never looked at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I early voted though.
That's good, that's good. But yes, there's a lot of checks and balances, and the technology has helped us with that. Makes it a little faster. So,
Right. And so now you're wrapping up this election, but then you're just turning right around, and there's an election in August.
yes, we're already into that election. We've already done some advertising for it. So one thing people don't realize is that long before an election even begins, we have already started it. The petition deadlines have passed for August. We're getting ready to have the ballot start being built. Those kind of things are already in the works for an election that hasn't technically started in people's eyes. So.
And it's a county general election, but it's a state primary.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So we'll have 3 ballots that people can choose from.
Wow. And we're gonna have one particular item on the ballot too, aren't we?
In August?
Yeah. Or no, it's November. You're
Okay,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
thought I was missing something.
Yeah, you were
But it
right. It's
Little
November.
panic.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, I kind of panicked too. I'm like, uh-oh.
No,
You know,
it's
but I
November. Yes.
should have known you were right and I was wrong.
No, not necessarily.
So Elizabeth, what are some short-term challenges like that you see in your office?
Short term for us is just, there's 6 of us. I have 6 staff members. One of them is currently, fighting an illness. And so just having enough people to manage the work that we have going on is a lot. But we can do it, and I have a fantastic group, and we're a very good team. So that is probably the biggest short-term challenge is turning around stuff as quickly as I would like for it to be turned around. So
yeah. What about long-term?
keeping up with the growth.
Yeah.
When I started over there, something people don't realize is we get new plats, because every time a new street is added, potential new voters are added on that street. And when I started, we would probably get a new plat once every 3 or 4 weeks, and we're getting them probably 2 and 3 a week now.
Wow.
So just the growth of that is,
yeah,
it's hard to keep up with, because it means our numbers are going up, which means we'll have to add more precincts, which means we'll have to add more people, and it's.
yeah. And so, this is gonna take me a second to ask you this question, and it's really an easy question.
Okay.
But I can't ask it, what is a typical day like for the administrator of elections, because we're kind of not typical right now. We just went through redistricting. We just went through the census process. So if you go back beyond the census, what was normal then? What's a normal day?
I don't think it's been normal since I started there. I was told that, we have an election year, and then you're off a year, and you're an election year, and you're off a year. And that's a lie. We had an election year, and then we had a special election year, and then we had an election year, and then we had a redistricting year, and then we have an election year. So we haven't had that downtime to play catch up yet. So there's really not a typical day. All the time we're constantly adding voters and going through our rolls and making sure they're as clean as they can be.
Mm-hmm.
We try very hard not to have dead people voting and stuff that people say. We don't want the potential of that, so we try to get people out when it's necessary and do the best we can.
Well, so 2023 should maybe bring some normalcy back on the cycle of an election and then an off year and then an election.
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
My staff will believe it when they see it, just because they've said nothing's gone right since I've been there. If it can happen and be odd and out of the ordinary, it's happened. So.
Wow. So you mentioned something about like removing people. What is the process for taking somebody off the voter roll?
It's very lengthy unless people tell us to. If somebody were to move out of the county or move out of the state and they tell us to remove their information, we can do that. Or if they pass away and we can definitively determine that person.
Right.
But if you just say my next door neighbor moved, we can send mail to your next door neighbor forever. And if we don't get it back, we can't do anything about it. And even if we put somebody on an inactive status, they still have 2 federal elections before they're removed if they don't do anything.
Really?
So that's 8 years that people stay on the roll. And if they do anything in that 8 years, it starts that process all over again. We have some people that have been on the rolls 30 years and never voted.
Been on the roll 30 years and never voted. So this is, now I'm kind of like asking.
Now you're curious.
I'm asking Jim questions.
That's okay.
Now. I'm just concerned.
Just off the cuff, it's fine.
So at every polling precinct, do you have like a captain or
We have an officer.
so that what is that person's
They're
title?
they're the officer of elections.
Okay.
And they're the lead. So if anybody has a complaint or a question or an issue, anything like that, they're who starts that process.
So if I was running for, people use the phrase dog catcher. So if I was running for dog catcher and I was inside the boundary, because there's a boundary of where you can put signs or advertise or wear a shirt or whatever, and I was holding up the sign, Jim for dog catcher, the officer would be the one that would.
Yes, they would make initial contact
Yeah.
with you. So
Yeah.
they get that.
Do y'all get a lot of that?
We do.
Yeah, it's not malicious.
It's not, and a lot of times people don't even really realize it if they come in with a shirt on or something because they put it on 5 hours ago and they've just walked in the door. It really happens more during early voting than it does at the precinct. So
Yeah. So what is your day like on an election day?
it's a lot of putting fires out, a lot of calls, a lot of voter concerns, voters not. I mean, I just jump in and I answer phones. I work the counter. Whatever needs to happen.
Do you have much equipment issues?
Not anything I think out of the ordinary. You're always gonna have something that goes awry, but I'm a planner, so I don't send one of anything anywhere. Right. So I try to make sure that we have backups available just in case.
So I just think this is so interesting, so I'm just gonna keep asking questions about it.
You'll learn when you become a poll worker.
I'm gonna be a poll worker, I promise
I'm
you.
recruiting.
So this ballot 2 days ago was a pretty lengthy ballot.
It was.
Y'all, do you have to manually load that in your machines? How do you get the ballot in the machines?
Our machines are never connected to the internet, but we have computers that's solely what they do. So we have laptops that are physically in our building, and that's all they do is those laptops do that.
So your machines are never connected to the internet?
They don't even have the capability.
Yeah, awesome.
So, but we have machine techs that are appointed by the Republican and Democratic Party, and they work together to load the ballot and test the ballot and do everything that needs to.
So you have people from the outside that come in and do that?
I don't touch any of the programming.
I bet y'all didn't know that, Montgomery County, because I sure didn't know it. Yeah, did your mom and dad know that?
Not until I started working there.
Did you know it before you started?
I did not. Everything we do has to be bipartisan. Everything. So even election night when results are brought back, the officer has to have someone of the opposite party ride with them back.
No
even
kidding.
though there's 3 locks on what they bring back that 3 different people have keys to.
That is so interesting. I mean, I could just keep asking you questions, but I better get back to my script. So what, I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna ask this question to you twice.
Okay.
Because your PIO, Public Information Officer role.
Yes.
Is kind of it's a different animal.
It is very different.
And this one is.
Yes.
So as administrator of elections, what would you say is one of the most gratifying things that's happened to you?
It's gonna sound weird, but when we had the first presidential election that I was involved in, we had literally a line around the building. And I never got a complaint, and we were compared to ChickFilA twice. Because they never stopped and nobody was ever unhappy. And I think being compared to ChickFilA in that aspect is a pretty awesome thing when you have people waiting 40 minutes.
That is awesome.
So.
And you know what? I was part of that.
Mhm.
I was over in front of building and codes and talking to somebody, and before I realized it, I was in the back voting.
Well, at one time it got wrapped all the way around to the back entrance of Civic Hall. And people said it never stopped, so you were constantly just kinda
Yeah,
trickling in,
yeah.
so.
So what about when you were PIO?
When we were doing communications, and actually this was with you, I think it would be when they were going to lower the troop number at Fort Campbell. And we put on a pretty successful night that was absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work.
It was a lot of hard work and a lot of hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I never even made it into the building because we were turning cars away at the gate because
Wow.
there were no other seats. And, we were trying to get the
Yeah.
radio station, and we were trying to get it out so that people could connect to hear what was happening. And I think seeing our community back that, and the fact that we were
Yeah.
involved was pretty, and the fact that we didn't lose the troops.
Yeah.
Was,
Don't you wish they do that with an election?
yes.
I mean, I really do. I really do. What would you tell somebody if you met them after you left here and they were just a casual couple and you found out they were thinking about moving to Montgomery County? Why would you tell them to move here?
I mean, there's a reason I'm still here. I didn't want to leave. There's a reason people come back here, and every time somebody registers from California or Louisiana or Texas or whatever, ask them why they chose here. We actually had a lady that came from Sweden, maybe? She came from another country. She has dual citizenship, and she chose Clarksville, Tennessee by research. And I think it's got a small town feel, but it's a large enough community. The people are nice. I've just enjoyed it, and it's where I wanted my kids to grow up. So I couldn't see myself anywhere else.
Yeah, that's awesome. Doesn't that make you, I know for me, being here, born and raised here like you, when you hear that story about somebody and they just Googled it, but golly, they found something that they really liked.
They
and that's why
chose
moved
Clarksville,
here.
Tennessee out of all of North America. So
Yeah, pretty special, huh?
pretty cool.
Just like our administrator of elections. You are special, and it's so much fun to work with you because you just always have a very positive attitude. You're always smiling, and there's challenges.
There are.
And you realize that, but you do it with a smile. That's why I love you.
We work through it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.